Welcome back to the 5th of 5 sessions centered on our theme, Transform. We hope you and your group are experiencing what it's like to explore new ways to be open. Knowing we are not alone gives us the courage we need to make new choices. The combination of God's truth and brotherhood helps us see that we do not have to live in isolation and that our failings and sins do not disqualify us. You will be given at the end of your group time today an opportunity to discuss whether or not you want to continue as a group. If you're not aware, there is another core 5-part series centered on the topic Redeemed. This series and others we are producing uses the power of real life stories to help you and your group deepen your connection together. Our hope for you and your group is to continue on the journey of exploring the transforming power of who we are in God's eyes and what He has made us for. Make sure you go to coreunites.com to find new series and other resources to help you, your group, and your church. Clint Bruce is a pretty fascinating guy. College football star, NFL player, Navy SEAL, entrepreneur, family man, and a passionate follower of Jesus. He has seen the extremes in life. He's seen the devastation of war, and he's seen the tender grace of family. Through effort, failure, and grace, he has learned how to live life from a different perspective and pace than most. His perspective has shaped a unique way that he's able to speak to men and their challenges. Listening and responding to the wisdom of Clint is a great way for you and your group to close this final session by looking at the journey ahead.
I love going against talented people because sometimes they don't know how to suffer. And I do. And if I can keep it even, when we start suffering, I'm gonna win. Someone looks at my background and they go, you know, college football player, NFL, Navy SEAL, entrepreneur, also they think this is some talented man's journey, but the truth of the matter is I'm not talented, and that's my gift. I'm much more an everyman than most people think. People ask me all the time what the hardest thing about training was. What was the hardest thing about SEAL training? And everybody's gonna have their own answers to that, because Bud's gonna find what you're not good at and it's gonna break you on it. For me, it was running. I don't know that many of us know just how much we can do, and I think we owe it to ourselves to run that full measure. And for me, elite is this, it's just a little bit further than excellence. It's a little bit more than what you thought you could do yesterday. You look at great athletes, you look at some of the most amazing leaders I've been around, and the one thing that distinguishes excellent from elite to me is, are you done or are you not done? If you're done, you can be excellent, and that's the most you can be, and that's really good. There's no reason to be apologetic about that. But if you're not done, you have a chance to be elite. And elite's just a little bit more than what you thought you could do before you got to excellent. Because to me, that's being a steward of your time. And if you have time left, you ought to see just how far you can go with the gifts that God gave you and the people that God surrounded you with. You got to be with your buddy, right? Because you need those different opinions, those different histories. You need that collective magic that comes from this common training with diverse stories and histories and perspectives that produce this amazing magic that happens when you come alive for the one thing you were built to do. And that we desperately need the person next to us. Because there's a bunch of people that get to where they said they were going to go, and they high five and they hug and they celebrate. They do all these things, and they should. I mean, you should acknowledge that. And then they're done. You know, they did it. That's it. Excellence is quantifiable, it's measurable, it's an X on a map, it's a thing you can get to. You can plot it, you can chart it, you can draw it on the whiteboard. Elite is this mythical ridgeline that's just a little bit further than that, right? And there's a part of you goes, hey, what's that? Life is very much this series of pick a high ridgeline and then try, fail, fix, try again, and you just do that over and over again. And it's really hard to do that when you're wandering. But if you're patrolling and if you're moving towards a target, if you're moving towards something that you decide is important to you and important to what you stand for, then that's just the process. And what I've learned is you have to create those. You have to create those ridge lines. Those are all opportunities to put that what you say you believe to work and to try and to fail and to fix and to try it again. You know, in special operations training, regardless of ours, Rangers, Marine Corps, SF, you know, selection, PJ's pipeline, all this other stuff, it truly is all about how much you want to suffer. And And I'm not a masochist. I don't like suffering for suffering's sake. There's got to be a reason that helps you pull through that resistance. And for me, suffering has always been the barometer for someone's ability to do great things. Can they suffer? Are they willing to suffer? I'm gifted at physical suffering. That's just, my singular athletic gift is I can just take tremendous amounts of pain. I just take a lot of punishment, right? I've been beat up so much that you just get tired beating me up and you're done. I'm like, oh, all right, you're done? Here we go. It really doesn't have anything to do with your physicality. It has to do with measuring your will. What are you willing to do? You watch these guys who are coding amazing things on the technology terrain, and that moment where they're just like, man, I can't write another line of code. That's exactly how I felt when I'm like, man, I can't lift that log over my head one more time. It's literally the same thing, because suffering happens in the brain. You don't rise to the occasion. You sink to the level of your training. It's endeavor agnostic. David is such a great lesson in passion and authenticity and asking for grace. I don't know that you really know how to pray unless you read Psalms, because when you read Psalms, you're able to pray in a much more honest and raw way. Aside from Christ, David is perhaps the most encouraging biblical figure that we go back to because of his fallibility. I mean, he was a train wreck. David was every crash and burn that we've seen in the last 50 years in sports and politics and business. It's all rolled up in one guy. But what I think saved David all the time is that awareness of who he was and that he had been picked and that why he was there. And even though David didn't know it, I think sometimes for so many of us, we're like, we wonder if we're worth it. And we're just like, hey, you do these reckless things because you just don't think you're worth anybody's time anyway. When you have this transcendent, amazing God who makes you know that you are worth it because he created you, it allows you to pick back up, well, man, someone sees something in me. And I think that was, David's great gift, was the ability to just believe what God said when God talked about David. In my world, I believe there's a difference between those who relax and those who reload. Both require rest. The difference is intent. You need rest. Everybody needs rest, right? But what are you resting for? Are you resting for the next opportunity to come up with a get-rich-quick scheme or a hack or whatever so you can just rest again? Are you resting so you can return to some high heart ridge line? You look at David and you look at where David made mistakes. It was when he was just relaxing. It was not when he was reloading. And the rest isn't the difference here. Was he trying to get away from the fight? Or was he trying to rest up and get ready for the fight? And every time he relaxed instead of reloaded is when he messed up. And that's when all of us mess up, with the absence of that ridge line, absence of that high heart thing that we're going to. Where I've made my most tremendous mistakes is when I haven't had two things. One, that high heart ridge line that I'm going to, and two, the accountability of others who know that's where I'm going. And if I'm missing those two things, I'm about to mess up. And I've been blessed to be able to survive those mistakes. And I've received an abundance of grace that is Davidic in its significance and mass. For me, reloading, I have to work at it, frankly. I have to recognize that there's ways that I'm refilled and replenished and recharged that don't feel productive to me. They don't feel like they're gonna charge me back up, but it's a discipline for me. And I hate to say this, there's times where I don't want to stop what I'm doing and go watch my daughter's soccer game, but there's never been a time where I've gone to watch my daughter's soccer game that I haven't been thrilled that I did. Getting time in the Word and waking up in the morning and intentionally putting yourself in position to be built into, or to either kind of refuel or replenish your body, or to have others pour into you. It's a discipline. And I'm proud of what I've done, and I feel very blessed to have done it and stuff like that. The only thing I don't like about it is sometimes other men go, well, I've never done what you've done. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? Like, you're raised by a single mom. You helped raise your older brother. I mean, you had so many barriers and obstacles that I didn't have to deal with. And so I think we all got to come to grips with the fact that this is a competition. Life is a competition. but not with anybody else. Like, you're competing with yesterday's you. I'm competing with Monday's me. And wins are relative, and losses are relative, and adversity is relative, and pain is relative, and your pain matters just as much as my pain. I just maybe did mine on a bigger stage with more people watching, but it doesn't make my experience any different, better, or more meaningful than yours. All of us have been given this kind of game, this game that's uniquely ours, and it's not gonna look like the guy next to you, and it's not gonna look like the guy behind you or the guy in front of you. That's your game, that's your ridge line. And you're either done or you're not done. And I would tell you that if your watch is working and my watch is working, you're not done yet. So what are you gonna do with this time? It's the one thing none of us can author. I mean, the most wealthy people in the world can't manufacture time. So what are you gonna do with that? What are you gonna do with that one absolute finite resource? Are you gonna run hard? Are you gonna buy what someone's selling you, this get rich quick, or make it not hurt so much? Or are you gonna look and go, hey, I got a little more time, I'm gonna do this because these things are important to me. And I tell you, you don't have to look much past scripture to figure out how to build a life that when you're no longer have time, whether you're 17 or you're 70, you can glide knowing that you use your time well. And I think that's all any of us can do is use our time. And time and tide wait for no man. So use your time on what matters.